Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Moving on with chapter 9 of choosing your WoW, explore scope. The explore scope process shown in figure 9.1 provides options to elicit and capture the initial requirements for our solution. Very often an initial vision will have been developed by our product management team if we have one, and prioritized and initially funded by our portfolio management team if we have one. The point is that there may already have been some initial thinking about the scope of our initiative. There are several reasons why we need to explore the initial scope in a bit more detail. Before that, I can read out these points. First, let me read out the key points in this chapter. We need to do just enough requirement exploration so that we understand what we are trying to achieve as a team. User stories and epics often need to be supplemented with other models to explore domain, user experience, and business process concerns. You should have a strategy to agree upon and manage quality requirements. Consider what techniques and tools you will need to prioritize and manage your work. Coming back to the text, so we were saying there are several reasons why we need to explore the initial scope in a bit more detail. Number one, we need to answer common stakeholder questions. Before providing funding for the rest of the effort, our stakeholders are likely to ask us fundamental questions such as, what are we going to deliver? How much will it cost? And when will we deliver it? To answer these questions, we need to work through what we believe the initial scope of our next release will be. Number two, we need to know what to work on initially. We want to do just enough requirements elicitation to understand what our stakeholders want so that we can confidently begin the construction. We'll also have to do some detailed look ahead modeling to explore the high priority work items that we will work on for the first few weeks of the construction. Basically, we will need to have a sufficient understanding of these requirements so that we can do the work to implement them. Number three, we want to set reasonable expectations so as to what we will deliver. Both the team and our stakeholders need to come to an agreement around a reasonable scope for the current effort that is being funded so that we are all working toward the same vision. Figure 9.1, the goal diagram for the explore scope process. Explore scope process has a number of options, and we will take them one by one. First of all, explore the purpose. And explore the purpose, we have got a number of alternatives available here. We have got impact map, we have mind map, we have modified impact map, outcome, and value proposition canvas. And outcome being in bold italic, it looks like the best option. Explore usage. We have got epic, we have got persona, UML use case diagram, usage scenario, use case, use story, and user story map. And the best options are epic, user story, and user story maps. Explore the domain. In domain, we have got domain oblique conceptual model, event storming, glossary, logical data model, and UML class diagram. And domain oblique conceptual model seems like a natural choice. Explore the process, business process diagrams, data flow diagrams, flow chart, UML activity diagrams, UML state chart, and value stream map. And in these, we have a better option as business process model diagram. Explore user interface needs, UI needs. So here we have user interface flow chart, flow diagram, UI prototype high fidelity, UI prototype low fidelity, and UI specification. And the chosen ones are user UI flow diagram and UI prototype low fidelity. Then we have explore general requirements, and we have a number of options here. We can choose any one of these. All are of equal footing: business rule, context diagram, feature statement, impact map, mind map, modified impact map, shell statement, and value proposition canvas. Next, we have explore quality requirements, and we have got three gradual scale, three options. Lowest being technical stories to explicit case to acceptance criteria. Applying modeling strategies, we have got again on a sliding scale from interviews, joint application development sessions, open space, and agile modeling informal sessions. Then we have choose a work item management strategy. Again on a sliding scale from none to requirements, product backlog, work item list, task board, and ultimately up to work item pool. Last but not the least is the level of detail of the scopes document. We have lowest is the node on the sliding scale. Lowest is no document, detailed specification requirement envisioning are light specification and outcome driven. So this was the overall map of that. Okay. As you can see in the explore goal scope goal diagram, we need to consider several important process outcomes. What is the purpose of our solution? How will we explore the ways that people will potentially use the solution? How will we explore domain concepts, the business processes to be supported by the solution, UI requirements, and general requirements? How will we capture quality requirements? How will we approach modeling activities? How will changing requirements be managed throughout construction? And what level of detail do we need to capture? Explore purpose. An important question to answer early on is why are we creating this solution, or what is the value we will produce? In other words, what is our purpose? The purpose of a potential solution is often initially explored at a high level during the concept or ideation phase before a solution delivery team is initiated. See Chapter 6 for an overview of the phases of the system life cycle. As part of our portfolio management efforts to identify solutions, products that are potentially worth investing in, while we explore the scope of our solution, we will also need to explore the purpose, which arguably guides the focus of our requirement elicitation efforts and work prioritization. Several common techniques for exploring purpose are compared in table below. So what are the options? First of all, they are not in order. First option is impact map, which is an application of mind map to explore a goal, what the actors involved, who, the impact why, and the deliverables how. Trade-offs are great way to visually work through the analysis of a high-level requirement or strategy, helps team to explore their assumptions and align their activities with the overall business roadmap. See mind map. Next is mind map. Brainstorm and organize ideas and concept. We have got a number of trade-offs, very visual and easy to understand notation, used to structure similar ideas during a conversation, supports collaborative idea generation, particularly when used with tools such as whiteboards, sticky notes, can lead to categorization of an idea earlier than is optimal, thereby shutting down lines of inquiry, and allows capture of off-topic ideas without losing context of current discussion. Next is modified impact map. An impact map, see above, where the focus is on outcomes rather than deliverables. The trade-offs are by focusing on outcome rather than deliverables, a team can explore requirements effectively without diving into solution design too early. Complementary to our to user experience UX design thinking strategies, see impact map. Then we have got outcome. An outcome describe a desired measurable result that is pertinent to our stakeholders. And the trade-offs are outcomes describe the stakeholder would like to achieve and why they would like to achieve that, but not how to do so. Provide teams flexibility in how to achieve the desired outcome, useful to capture high-level stakeholder needs. Then we have got value proposition canvas, used to explore typically via sticky notes the fit between a product solution and the customer it is meant to delight. Various trade-offs enables you to identify the value proposition of your solution product, the needs of your potential customers, and to explore the fit between them. Simple tool that is straightforward and easy for stakeholders to learn. You will need to validate your value proposition with actual potential customers, perhaps via the exploratory lifecycle, via prototyping or similar means. Often used in combination with a business value canvas, which explores the long-term vision for a product by product managers. Next is explore usage. There are many ways to explore how people will work with our solution. Although there is significant focus within the Agile community on user stories and epics and a growing appreciation for design thinking, there aren't our only choices. Disciplined Agilists prefer to use the best technique for the situation they face. And as you can see in the table below, there are several options available to us. So first of all is the epic. Large stories that take a lot of effort, often multiple iterations to complete. Epics are typically organized into a collection of smaller user stories. Sometimes epics are referred to as features or user activities. Trade-off is useful for high-level program planning, appropriate level of detail for low-priority work, since the details are likely not well understood yet and are likely to change anyway. Persona. Detailed description of fictional people who fill roles as stakeholders of the solution being developed. We have a number of trade-offs used as a technique to build empathy for users as real people and to understand the optimal user experiences for each. Useful when we don't have access to actual end users or potential end users. Can be used as an excuse not to work with actual users. Unified Modeling Language (UML), use case diagrams, diagrammatic notation for a textual use case, and here we have got a number of options here. Puts use cases and potentially usage scenarios and epics if we are flexible into context. Can promote requirement reuse, can motivate unnecessary complexity. Then we have a usage scenario, describes the step-by-step interaction between a user, actor, and the solution, similar to acceptance criteria, although tends to cross the equivalent of several stories, also known as a use case scenario. Useful to flesh out all the different ways that a solution can be used, often putting granular requirements such as stories or features into context. Danger of becoming a set of detailed requirements. Scenarios are typically less structured than acceptance criteria, making the testing of them more difficult. Use case. Textual specification describing all different usage scenarios for the goals of the system. It puts requirements into the context of actual usage scenario. Traditional use case can require significant effort to write, although it is possible and highly desirable to write some simple use cases instead. User story, one or two sentences to describe something of value to the user. The most common technique is to organize the agile usage requirements, very high level depiction of the usage requirement, often requiring detailed modeling at some point in the future before the story is sufficiently understood or ready for development. Due to the granularity of the story, it can be difficult to understand their context without another artifact such as an epic or usage scenario. Then user story map. User story maps are placed on a flat surface, a wall in the case of a sticky note, a table in the case of a index cards, or a screen in the case of digitally captured stories. They are then organized to indicate the epic they are part of and then the production release they are assigned to. So it puts stories into context, enables planning and scoping. Next is explore the domain. We may wish to create an information model to capture key concepts and relationships within our business domain, particularly when that domain is complex. These models artifacts should be kept as simple as possible and only created when they provide valuable insight for the team. You may even consider adopting a domain-driven design approach where the primary focus is on domain concept and logic rather than the usage-driven approach based on user stories, epics, common on Agile teams. Following table captures several options for exploring the domain concepts. So the various options are: number one, domain oblique conceptual model, a high level data model showing the entities and the relationship between them. Attributes of the entities are optionally indicated. What are the trade-offs? A simple way to explore the entities and their relationship. Experienced data modelers will often want to capture far more information than is required, leading to wasted effort. Next is event storming, a collaborative agile modeling session focused on exploiting business domain events and the business domain itself, often used such as domain-driven design, DDD approach. Trade-offs are inclusive collaborative modeling session involving a range of stakeholders. Originally focused on a handful of modeling techniques, in particular event and domain modeling, it has since expanded into something very similar to an agile modeling session. It requires facilitation, planning, and an agile modeling room. Next is a glossary, a collection of the definitions of key terms often captured in a wiki, useful to ensure alignment on terminology, can lead to excessive documentation. We don't need the level of precision of a professionally written dictionary. Logically data model LDM, a diagram showing data entries and their attributes without depicting the actual physical implementation and types for the entities. Trade-offs are suitable to get agreement on basic data entry relationships without the need for upfront understanding of the actual physical representation. The other one is the need to capture logical data. Information is often overblown. Concise data guidance and a practical approach to the physical data model will often suffice. Last one is UML class diagram, similar to a domain model with a notation that supports adding more detail around data attributes, relationships, aggregation, and composition. Is suitable in more sophisticated domains are where a certain amount of upfront data design is required. Usually overkill for most situations, and the more robust notation compared with other models listed above can motivate the big requirements upfront BRUF approach. Next is explore the process. When our existing business processes or potential solution processes are complex, we should consider investing some time exploring them. Our aim should be to understand how people currently work and, work importantly, consider if there are better ways to achieve the same outcome. We must also strive to ensure that the business process supported by our solution reflects the overall direction of our organization, often captured by our business roadmap. See the align with enterprise direction process goal in chapter 8. The following table overviews several common options for exploring our capturing processes. So out of the various options, the very first one is business process diagram, used to depict the activities and the logical flow between them. Such as business process modeling. Trade-offs are used to understand current and future state business processes. Formal notation can be useful for understanding handoffs, responsibilities, delays, and other valuable information about the business processes, but this can be time-consuming. Some modeling notations, particularly BPMN, can be overly complex and difficult for business stakeholders to work with. Next is data flow diagram, DFD. Shows movement of data through a business or solution process, depicting activities, sub-processes, data flows, data source, and external entities, public actors, popularized in the 1970s for structure analysis and design approaches. So the variants here are maybe useful in modeling legacy information flows, can often lead to BRUF, particularly when modelers have a structural analysis and systems design background. Flowchart, next, a technique popularized in the 1970s to explore detailed process logic showing activities, decisions, and flow between them. A traditional way of exploring business logic and business rules, easy to teach stakeholders, difficult to depict complex scenarios in a comprehensible manner. Then next point is UML activity diagram, explores processes and activities and the control flow between them. Useful for modeling the sequence of process steps, includes mechanism to model processes by responsibility with lanes as well as to model parallelism of activities. Notation can become complex, increasing the chance that stakeholders will not understand them. Next is UML state chart. Describes the life cycle of the key entity statutes of the solution. Suitable for modeling complex behaviors and states in real-time system, can be difficult for stakeholders to understand due to the level of abstract thinking. Value stream map depicts processes, the time spent performing them, and the time taken between them, and the level of quality resulting from processes used to explore the effectiveness of existing processes and to propose unproved ways of working. Martin Osterling. So what do we have? It identify potential inefficiencies in a process, can be very illuminating when there is disagreement around the effectiveness of a process, suitable when the focus of the solution is on improving the process flow. Next we have explore user interface UI needs. Understanding the usability of the solution is critical to ensuring that what we are producing is consumable, it is functional, unstable, and usable and undesirable. Our team should be following organizational user interface and user experience guides where appropriate. See align with Enterprise Direction Chapter 8 to increase consistency across solution. It should also embrace an agile design thinking strategy where we purposefully work with potential end user to explore how they will work with our solution and better yet be delighted by it. Options we have: number one, user interface UI flow diagram explores how the various screens and reports all fit together, often created as a sketch on a whiteboard or with sticky notes on a drawing surface, sometimes called a wireframe. And a Tradeoffs provides a high-level view of how major UI elements fit together to support one or more scenarios. Provides insight into potential consumability problems long before the situation is built. Next is prototype. High fidelity identifies the user facing design of screens and reports and the flow between them, often requires a digital prototyping tool, development tool, etc. Concrete way to explore what people want our solution to be. Explores the solutions look and feel to ensure we are building something desirable. Provides a mechanism to stakeholders to take portion of the solution for a test drive long before they are coded. Can motivate significant upfront UI exploration and design, thereby taking on the risks associated with PRUF. Next is UI prototype. Low fidelity. Identify requirements for screens and reports using inclusive tools such as paper and whiteboard, also called as a screen sketch. Easily explore requirements for the UI in a platform independent manner. Quickly explore potential UI design option without the overhead of high fidelity UI prototyping. UI specification define exactly how a screen or report is to be built by the development team. High potential to jump into design long before it's appropriate. This is not suitable. Motivates over documentation of the UL. Changing UI requirements is very common. You can make it very difficult to keep UI specification up to date. Next is explore general requirements. There are several strategies with which we can organize and support our other requirement techniques. Several common techniques are compared in the table below. Let us see. We have got a number of options here. Business rule defines a domain-oriented constraint in our solution, often part of the done criteria for functional requirements. What is the trade-off? Open acceptance criteria for one or more usually requirements, sometimes implemented at automated developer unit. Okay. Okay. Automated developer unit test, particularly for a granular business rule, can result in over modeling at the beginning of the endeavor when using a formal business rule modeling approach. Then is the context diagram, shows the primary users of the solution, their main interaction with it, and any critical system that the solution impacts with. Useful as a high level overview of how the solution fits into the overall organizational system, often a key diagram for a vision statement. Next is feature statement. Captures the solution's key capabilities and describes and benefits at a high level, can provide a high level description of scope to our stakeholders to a vision statement. Straightforward approach to capturing functional requirements at a level our key stakeholders will understand. Feature statements will often stay into design through inadvertently specifying an aspect of the implementation. Impact map is an application of mind map to explore a goal, what and the actors involved, who and the impact, why, and the deliverables, how. So we have got 3 points against it. Great way to visually work through the analysis of a high level requirement or strategy. Okay. Helps team to explore their assumptions and align their activities with the overall business roadmap and see mind map. Next is mind map. Brainstorm and organize ideas and concepts, and we have got a number of ideas from here. Very visual, easy to understand notation, used to structure similar ideas before a class, a conversion. Okay. Particularly when used with tools such as whiteboard, sticky notes, can lead to a categorization on idea earlier than is optimal, thereby shutting down lines of inquiry, allows category capture of off-topic ideas without keeping context of different discussions. Modified impact map and impact map see above, where the power is our God. Complementary to use experienced UX design thinking strategies, see impact map. Shell statement. Formal approach to capture functional or quality requirement, traditional captured in a detailed software requirement specification, and here we support contractually documentation requirement in some government and defense environment. Then we have got can motivate over documentation, BRUF, often ambiguous as they typically do not put the foot down. Okay, then we have got the last one here, value proposition canvas, used to explore typically via sticky notes the fit between a product solution and the customer it is meant to deliver value proposition. enables you to identify the value proposition of your solution product, the need of your potential customer, and to explore the wide the fit between them. Simple tool that is straightforward and easy for stakeholders to learn. You will need to validate your value proposition with actual potential customers, perhaps via the exploratory life cycle, via prototyping or simple means. Often used in combination with a business value canvas, which explores the long-term vision for a product by product managers. Okay, next is explore quality requirements. What is quality? Answering this question can be difficult because quality is in the eye of the beholder, or as Gary Weinberg said, was wont to say, quality is value to some person. The implication is that we need to work closely with our stakeholders, uh, to discover what quality means to them. Quality requirements, also known as the non-functional requirements, NFR, system-wide requirements, quality of service requirements are and utilities address issues such as security, availability, reliability. मतलब जिसके पास जितने पैसे थे उसने खर्च कर दिए और अभी बहुत से गरीब तो हिले भी नहीं अपनी जगह से. तो इसमें पोटेंशियल जो कैटेगरीज हैं गुड रिक्वायरमेंट्स की, उसको अगर आप देखना चाहें तो उसमें अकाउंटेबिलिटी है, एक्यूरेसी है, अवेलेबिलिटी है, ऑडिटेबिलिटी है, कैपेसिटी है, कंज्यूमेबिलिटी है, कॉन्करेंसी है, कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस है, डाटा इंटेग्रिटी है और डिप्लॉयमेंट है, Region of environment, exclusive access, historical data, internationalization, interoperability, maintainability, operate, और उसके नीचे 3 लेयर हैं जो खुली हुई हैं. And regulatory, reliability, reusability, scalability, security, serviceman, और ये 4 नीचे वाले तो ओके जी. So the option we have, number one is the acceptance criteria, quality focused approach that captures detailed aspects of a high level requirement from the point of view of the stakeholder, and the trade-offs are motivates them to think through detailed requirements, dovetail nicely into a broken driven behavior driven development BDD, are an acceptable user driven development ATDD. Many quality requirements are cross-cutting aspects of several functional stories. So, relying on acceptance criteria alone uh, risks missing details, particularly in new requirements identified later on in the high school. Explicit list enables us to capture quality requirements in a reusable manner that cross-cuts functional requirements. No attaching quality requirement, specific functional requirement, allow the option of using proof of technology rather than waiting for an associated story. Requires a mechanism. Okay, requires a mechanism such as acceptance sequence to ensure that the government requirement is implemented across the appropriate functional requirement. Technical stories, simple strategy for capturing quality requirement that is similar to an explicit list, works well when a quality requirement straightforward and contained no appropriate no not appropriate for quality requirement that cross-cut many functional differences because we don't address the quality requirements in a short period of time. Apply modeling strategy. There are several techniques that we can apply to work with stakeholders to elicit the information required to scope our solution. These modeling strategies often require replanning. Yes, at last, need to schedule and invite people to them, and often require follow up to share the results of the sessions with the participants. Agile modeling informal session, an informed collaborative approach to modeling where stakeholders are often actively involved using simple, inclusive modeling tools such as whiteboard and paper. Uh, okay. Trade-offs are works well when the people involved can be brought together in a modeling room. Works well with small group of people, but can be scaled to teams with the project attached to it. Requires some facilitation to ensure that a range of issues are addressed. Modeling sessions, even informal ones, can require some scheduling data type. Okay. Open space. An open space is a facilitated meeting or multi-day conference where participants focus on a specific date, task, or purpose, such as sharing experiences about applying agile strategies within an organization. Open spaces are participant driven, with the agenda being created at the time by the people attending the event, also known as open space technology. Works well with a desperate group of people that need to hear each other. After moving almost 15 kilometer के बाद, group of people that need to hear each other often produces important insight that leadership may not have done after he did the. So work well often produces important insights, requires new upfront planning, and some people will not like what happens to be the unplanned nature of open space. Joint application requirement section, formally modeling session led by a skilled facilitator with defined rules for how people will interact with one another. Sale to dozen of people works well in regulatory environment due to the creation of defined agenda, requirements, documentation, and many artifacts can require someone significant. Okay, can require significant overhead to schedule. Can sometimes be overly focused on the GAR process and documentation format rather than the collaboration. Interviews, someone interviews stakeholders individually or in a small group to identify their needs. Works well when we need to clarify information previously provided by our stakeholder. Maybe the only option. Okay. Everyone's option is equally respected. The highest person's opinion, HIPPO, may skew the finding. We have often need to remind senior stakeholders that they must listen to the other stakeholders. Choosing a WoW item management strategy. Early in the life cycle, we need to identify how changing stakeholder needs will be dealt with as requirements as identified. How are they going to be recorded, prioritized, and managed? This Decision is highly related to the lead of detail that we choose to capture. The more flexible our work item management approach, the less detailed our requirement needs to be. So here we have got work item pool, a lean approach that enables team to implement several prioritization strategies simultaneously. Examples of prioritization strategy include business value item to be changed, fixed dates, and intangible items such as paying down technical debt or attendance training. Trade-offs are require teams to consider a variety of issues including stakeholder value, risk और उसके ऊपर वाले को उन्होंने right. Task boards are lean strategy where the life cycle, including the prioritization of work items, is managed usually by the team. Prioritization is visible and transparent at the pool and stakeholder. A task board effectively does doubly duty. Uh, yeah. So supports highly collaborative planning and coordination sessions. Simple approach that can be implemented with sticky notes, index cards, and agile marketing work item list. Similar to a Scrum product backlog, but includes all types of work, not just requirements. In addition to value, work is also prioritized to implement risk-related item भी इसमें भेजें. Next is level of detail of the scope statement. How much detail, if any, will we need to capture in our requirements artifacts? The decision will be driven primarily by issues such as regulatory compliance, geographic notation of team members, and our organizational culture. We need the Agile Manifesto advice of less or more, or less and more. Okay, our situation recognizes that it's more effective and explore the details when we actually need them. Options are outcome driven. The requirements are captured in the form of high level outcomes or goals, and that is there is explicit agreement to explore the details later. Outcome are typically captured as a simple uh, point form list that is easily available to anyone involved with the initiative. इसमें ना provide significant flexibility आपने करनी है, and how the ये एक खास जगह से आप लोग start करेंगे. Team and their stakeholders must be very comfortable. Requires a very skilled and organized team. Here are requirement in envisioning की जो light specifications है, set of simple model typically captured as sketches and minimal descriptions such as. तो ये किस तरह के साथ इसको रखा जाएगा? Only effective and sufficient where the solution is very well understood and the requirements are likely to change, which is rare in practice. May be required in life critical regulatory situations, but this is not really very feasible. And the last point is no document. This stakeholder describes there needs to be the team, and the team produces something based on the complete magic. So appropriate in situation where the effort is low risk, I actually can. Right, I think we should close it. We have completed 148 pages. 9th chapter is done. Next chapter is 10, identify architecture strategy, and we will do it next time. Thank you very much and take care.